Everybody set up or?
Yes.
Alrighty, like to call a meeting to order at 4:32 p.m. First item we have is the approval of the May 15th agenda. We have a motion. Motion to approve. Second. A motion in a second. All in favor? Aye. And get a chance to look at the April 13th minutes. Need a motion to approve.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we do have 3 of our 5 board members here in person, so we do have our quorum. We're good. Go down to the board chairs report. Pull this up real quick. Have to print out a copy.
What's that?
I thought that was last month's report. Whatever, okay, while LIRR has promised to continue to monitor ridership patterns and make necessary adjustments to schedules and train lengths, there will be no major changes forthcoming in the summer train schedule that will go into effect later this month. Basically, it's just the addition of trains out to the Hamptons and also some midday track work adjustments. I spoke with LIRR senior management regarding my concerns regarding rolling stock and was assured that the M9A procurement is still being worked on and negotiated. My major concerns are that we don't appear to have enough cars to handle our needs now, and even if we did, they would still need to keep over 50 of the M3 cars in service after receipt of the balance of our original M9 order. They also, as many of you know, the MTA has finally addressed our concerns regarding PEVs, our personal electronic vehicles, by establishing a formal policy at last month's board meeting. I've requested that there be a robust amount of public notification regarding this new policy. Haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it will be coming out shortly. I will also bring this up at this coming board meeting. A new escalator and elevator recently opened in Grand Central Madison that runs from the Biltmore Room down to the Long Island Railroad level. This is probably the most direct way to get to and from street level and should save most commuters 2 or 3 minutes each way. Also, we have been requested by some members of our ridership to continue to pursue federal legislation regarding refunds where and when appropriate for unused wage works, et cetera, accounts. I've reached out to both Senator Schumer's and Congressman Garbarino's office regarding this, but have yet to hear back. That's basically it. The rest of the new stuff that we have will be covered by Lisa.
I just want to say I have seen some advertisements about the PEV.
Oh, you did? Oh, great.
I've seen it in both the subways and.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Digital screen on the.
Yes, I testified this month that that safety.
Sorry to stick in, but I can't hear a thing you're saying. Time's up all the way.
Hi, this is Deborah. I'm having the same issue. You're going in and out.
Okay, I'm gonna move the laptop closer.
That helps a little more, but I also hear like pop back, something in the background. And
Right.
yes, I'll be muting, but I
How about
just
now? Do you,
having
this
trouble
is Larry,
hearing.
this is Larry, do you hear me?
Larry,
Yes,
I
I
can,
hear
this is
you.
Larry, this is
I'm
Chris.
gonna,
I can hear you, Larry. I can hear when Jerry speaks, but when Lisa's page comes up, it's very low, but I increased my volume up to 98%.
All right.
Okay, hold on. How about now?
Don't you turn your volume down, and I'll turn mine up. Turn yours down. Okay, so your volume's, turn your volume up.
Okay.
How about now? What do you hear from now?
Sounds good.
By me.
You sound
I can
perfect.
still barely hear it. A little better.
Right, Ron, you may want to dial out and back in. I know we had a problem last time, but if it's just.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can get off and go.
Chris, you're good?
Yeah, I can hear you guys all the way from the other end of the island.
And Deborah, Deborah, you hear us okay?
All right, so you
You
guys,
said you saw marketing on.
Right, so I saw
Fleet
marketing,
for
but
Subway
when I
and-
testified at the board, before we knew that they were coming out with this, I said I had seen signs in my library that you
That's
weren't allowed
fine.
to have an elevator and that,
Electric.
a P, I'm sorry, an elevator, you could have this, so in the elevator, you weren't allowed to have a PEV. And it said what they were and that you weren't allowed to ride it or charge it. And if you could do that in my library, if they could put up a sign,
Right.
but then I started seeing them.
You said you haven't seen it. She's seen a little. Did they offer to us what their plan was in marketing? What's gonna be on the rolling stock? What's gonna be at stations?
They didn't
What's
give-
gonna
they
be
weren't
social
very-
media?
They weren't very specific. I could follow up with that at this month's meeting.
Because if she's seen it on rolling stock, probably, she said the digital ones, it's probably only on the newer cars. What are they doing for
Yeah, no, they,
signs for the old stock?
now I had brought this up to they reorganized the whole MTA. So now certain things that the railroad used to handle themselves gets kicked over to headquarters. Because prior to this, I had spoken to both the ladies who handle Metro North and the Long Island Railroad Safety. And showed them a stock of these posters and stuff that are readily available from New York Lifesavers. And they said, yeah, they knew about it, and it was fine. But then when they finally implemented policy, I went back to them and says, okay, you can start seeing this. And it was like, well, it's gonna be held by headquarters. So
Well,
that's
because it's
point
an
out.
MTA policy, not a railroad policy.
Right, and of course, it also entails the subways as well. So I'll follow up on that at this month's meeting to see exactly where we're at. But yeah, there should be definitely posters about this, and I was suggesting that they should be particularly on the M7s where you have a limited amount of places where you can plug in, is to have one of those signs right by.
Or a
Where the
decal that
outlets
goes
are.
right
Yep,
over
yep.
the outlet, come, you know.
Yeah.
Surrounds the outlet, and says, don't plug a PEV in here.
They
Yeah.
were, that Vinnie raised that as well.
Yeah,
And they were talking about what they were gonna put up and also about what the penalty was going to be.
right. Yeah, they weren't specific about the penalties, and I brought up the point that the best way to get people's attention, you gotta hit them in the pocketbook, so if you catch
That's
anybody
stack
plugging
of
one of these
agendas.
things in.
I also saw in the policy, it said, no PEV could be larger than, I believe it was 4 feet by 80 inches.
Yeah.
80 inches is quite long.
Pretty long, yeah, and it's 100 pounds. I think it's
So-
100-pound limit.
And they
as well.
put where not to store it. And those places that people would typically put an 80-inch PEV, which is nearly 7 feet long,
Right.
huge. Where would that even fit on a
Hmm.
railroad stop? Because it can't be where the handicap is, it can't be in the aisleway, and it can't be by the doors.
All right,
Where are you putting an 80-inch, which seems, again, larger than a non-motorized
right,
vehicle? I think the 80 inches is too much. But where, they're
Yeah.
telling them where not to put it, so if somebody is going to say to a conductor, or where do you want me to put it then?
But yeah, so they definitely said not in the disabled seating area and that they were gonna enforce that, but that was also something Vinnie raised, the railroad labor
yeah,
representative on the board raised at least,
He's got it.
and Jerry's raising this, has raised this several times, having permits for the PEVs.
right.
So I think it's a work in progress.
One of the things they did say, because I wasn't 100% satisfied with the policy, but I was just glad that we actually have one now, is, and they assured me that somewhere down the road, we can modify the policy. They'll see how it goes. Maybe we will get permits on the PEVs. I mean, the bicycles, obviously, and bicycles are fine. We're not worried about that. But they just want to work this policy, see how it goes, and then if they need to tweak it, they'll do so. So we just got to stay on top of it.
I just feel the way it was written was it's allowing them to come on with
A truck.
with something that is, because now they're specifying a size. And that size limitation is not much of a limit at all. And again, they're saying where not to put it. But it leaves no other option of
Yeah.
a place to put it, so. The storage location and the size do not match.
It does seem a little contradictory.
Correct, it doesn't match.
You're right.
You can't have one. You can't have both of those things written within the policy because it's impossible to place it anywhere.
Annabelle, do you have any additional information that you can share with us?
Hi, Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, not at this time. I have been taking some notes. I can definitely follow up with you afterwards. But I haven't heard anything just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, because like the impression I got from, the discussion at the board meeting. Yeah, you can bring it in and you can park it over by the handicap area. But if a handicapped person gets on, then you gotta move it, and then like, where do you move it to? So
Right.
it is, again, it's a work in progress, but at least we have some sort of guidelines that we can actually work to refine.
Yeah, I think the electronic part is addressed
Yeah,
and
Well, the,
the
just that there is,
charging part of it, like that's been addressed.
yeah, so.
It's the sizing and storage that I think needs some adjustment because again, it doesn't,
Right,
it's unrealistic. But I'm
Um,
glad they did address the electronic safety fire as
yeah,
part of it.
that was probably the biggest, most
Yeah.
important one for us.
Deborah has her hand raised.
Yeah, Deborah, you have a question?
Yes. If they bring those, say, the person who with that device is on first and they're in the disabled area. And I get on with my walker, which is a mobility device, and they refuse, and the conductor, and they refuse to move. What is my recourse then?
So it wouldn't be your recourse,
Would be
it
your-
would be the conductor. Who
No, I
would
said
need
the
to,
conductor also refuses to help me. What am I supposed to do?
it would be up to the conductor should not refuse to help you.
No, because you have priority.
But,
You
yeah,
have the priority. That's your space, not his space.
yeah,
They can
I
only,
understand that, but the reason I'm bringing this up, there are times some conductors take it upon themselves to act like you're not really disabled. What's the big deal? And they don't help you.
but then you should get their you should get their
Yeah.
number and report them.
yes, definitely.
Yes, I'll second that with Lisa. They shouldn't be refusing to help you. That should not be happening. So if you could get as much information as possible on the conductors when that occurs.
And I will let
Yeah.
you know. I write very good descriptive, and if I can't get their badge number, I describe what they look like and the time and the car number I was in.
Yep.
They
Sounds
do
good.
hide sometimes their badges.
But now that there are rules that have been spelled out, that will make their job much easier.
I'm glad those rules, that's why also I was asking for clarification to make sure I understood what was being said. Thank you.
And, just going back to the marketing campaign, in addition to on the stock, this policy is written about on the platforms as
Yep.
well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
No, there's.
when we inquire about not just in the stock and social media, but on the platforms,
Yeah,
because
that-
that's where they're zipping.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I've seen the signs, is
Okay.
in the plat, is in the stations.
Okay,
is-
not on the car.
not
I
on the cars.
misunderstood.
Oh,
you
yeah,
earlier, but
no,
okay.
actually, I've seen them on some of the cars, in some of the cars, but mostly in the stations.
Yeah.
Yes,
I can put in that request to see if the signage can be in the cars as well,
thank you.
That'd be greatly appreciated.
of course.
Christopher has his hand raised.
What's that?
Christopher has his.
Christopher,
raised.
yeah.
Mimi, first of all, there's one also we have Long Island Cares. It's also not as well, because when we have the Long Island Cares, they also been assisting, and also the conductor supervisor, which I call them when they wear the white ones, they do get them and get. But regarding the signages, I second Lisa. We was Atlantic Terminal. Sorry if my internet's going in and out. The store was working.
Your internet
Yeah.
is going in and out.
Chris, why don't
Yeah.
you turn off your camera? That sometimes helps with the,
I tried that already, Lisa. It's not me. They're doing something across the street. It's interfering with my signal. So I already tried that before. It's like a win situation, but now you can
Christopher,
hear
you
me.
want to come here and then you can talk if there's a problem?
No, I'm just saying it quickly. I saw the signs. I did it there. I could vouch with Lisa. The only thing I'm just gonna say is the MTA May headquarters, I can't say names today, I'm sorry. If we can mention at the board that signage is not just technology machines, but we also need paper signs, because some stations, they don't even build the new machines yet.
Besides the digital signage, I requested that earlier, is that there's
Yeah.
decals
Yeah,
where the outlets are, and then also posted as well. So we can't rely just on the digital,
Right, because there's no digital
on old stock
in the diesel country, you know, if you're riding a double decker.
or old stock
Exactly, or
or some
the
platforms.
employees, there's no,
some
you know,
platforms.
exactly,
So
so.
we have that, Chris.
yeah, and the other reason why I brought that up, because I did bring it up to the MTA staff, that we need to see paper signs up, because not everyone who has trouble seeing can't see the screens. The screens are too bright,
Yes,
or
we
some
requested
places
it.
they don't work.
We requested it.
Yep,
No, I just want to back it up.
oh, yeah, no, I
Okay.
hear you. Okay, did everybody at least did you hear the chair's report when I went through it? I mean, I know you all picked up on, okay. Do we have any other questions on anything else? The schedule, the M9A procurements, anything else? You have something?
Yeah.
Okay,
In reference since, okay, one, how, is it gotten better now when the trains are going to Grand Central? And are they,
So we're gonna go over that now.
wait, let me finish my sentence, please, so I don't forget, please. But the other thing is, have they also taken into account that when, if say I come in from Brooklyn on the, you know, from coming in, and they may put you in the last, you know, platform, but that only has one elevator. Have they worked out the problem if the elevator's not working and you have a person with a motorized or wheelchair coming off in Jamaica? Have they made any contingency plans?
not that
That's a
I'm aware
question
of.
for Annabelle.
Annabelle might be able to
Yeah.
answer.
Mhm. I mean, the plan still stands that you get in contact with Long Island Care. If that is the case, they'll find an alternative at the time. I'm not aware of any policy change that's been made if the elevator is not working. That has been taken to the appropriate party, so they are aware. I'll just give them a reminder that that's still a concern, and that we're still waiting answers to that
Oh.
scenario.
I just want to add something, you know, twice I've gone to the Port Authority meetings since they control the elevators at Jamaica. And I also, they came out with this big, beautiful book, and I said, how come you're not listing all the help people with disabilities and the seniors can get? I found out that they have rooms, special rooms at the airports. If an individual in the autistic spectrum needs to calm down, where they can bring them, but they don't advertise that. I said, how come, Long Island Cares, the railroad, Long Island Railroad, as well as Metro North, they can't wait to advertise and make sure that I and other people with disabilities know about that we can get the assistance to go on and off the trains. And I says, and Amtrak does it too. So I have been,
That's available. I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. That's available, you said, at the airports or at the
no, the
air train?
airports.
Got it.
But I
Okay.
also did remind them that since they are the ones controlling the elevators and escalators at Jamaica and there's Long Island Cares there, you
Mhm.
need to also say that if they need help to get someplace, you should be advertising it more, like what kind of accessibility services do you have at, like wherever the Long Island Railroad meets something that's going to go like with the air train or something.
Mhm.
We've been bringing that up to them and telling them
Okay.
they have to make sure also all those elevators are in good shape. Because I told them I do not want to have to go up and down through the freight elevators if possible. I says, I'm not a piece of freight. I pay my fare. So I just want you all to know I said that to them.
Understood.
Right.
Okay.
What you got, Lisa?
That should also be something that you bring up on the disability committee, right, for the Long Island Railroad, which I know that you will when they meet next.
Yes,
So,
It's already been
do.
notified, Lisa. This is Chris. Let me say this quick. It's been already, but just to share that information with the Long Island Community Council, Long Island Cares does do that, and that's all I'm going to say at this moment. Thank you.
great. So,
Okay.
I'm gonna provide an update on our survey.
Yep, we're gonna
that
move
we've
down to
done.
Lisa's
So,
portion of the program.
As you know, we undertook a survey. Now I'm gonna attempt to share my screen, which is much easier for me to do when I have a whole bunch of different screens that I can see. Now, how do
The
I
way you
share
went with the images.
it?
Oh, there.
Yeah,
No.
now I want them Ron's back.
Now click share on the green button on the bottom.
Let's see now, let's
And
make
then you gotta choose that one.
which one. There we go. All right. Okay. I hope that you can see, yes, you can.
Preliminary findings.
There we go. So we have had more than 450 people respond to our survey, which we launched in early April on opening day at City Field. Day that we're living in for me, because we got so many responses, we crashed the site. And the responses have ranged from more people have to transfer. Some people are happier with service, some people are decidedly not happy with the service. And some people have responded that it's gotten better since some of the changes have been made. So you'll see that Grand Central Madison is popular with, there are positives, it's not absolutely not all negative. Grand Central Madison is popular with Midtown workers, that provides them with more flexibility, and that folks who are at what was formerly known as local stops, who didn't have as many train options, like the added service that they're getting. Of course, on the flip side of that, people who were in the express stops, on express trains who now have to be at those local stops, are not as happy about it. The biggest negative is the end of the cross-platform transfers and the time connections. And that's something, Jerry, that you've been hammering home on a regular basis. And that that's something that we see regularly on social media as well. Thanks so much for missing my connection. Now I have to wait, and pick a state transfer point for an hour. Insufficient rush hour service gaps, and overloaded trains, which are reducing to an extent, but they still continue. Excuse me, what's interesting as well is the number of people who change trains. This is the now. Where do you change? Do you change trains to get to your destination now? Yes, no, and occasionally, and where do you change trains? And we added the stops that were the suggested transfer points with the new schedules. And then this chart shows where did you change trains prior? And a lot more people didn't have to change trains before the schedule to Grand Central was implemented. And of course, the majority of transfers were at Jamaica, were those that did.
What were the top ones for now? The slide before that.
Yep.
Right.
Oh,
What were the top ones?
sure. They were Woodside, or Jamaica's number one, Woodside, Bayside,
Those slivers you don't need to give me.
Yeah.
That was just the top three.
yeah, basically Woodside, and
And the I did not change, was that what percent?
here it's 28%.
And
This
what
is, I do not.
And what is it now?
No, when you get to, we have that.
There.
So before February 27, 34% of riders out of the sample of 345, no, not everybody filled both parts of this out. 34% of riders out of the sample stated they had to transfer to get to their destination, 34%. After February 27, 59% of riders stated they had to
25%
transfer.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stated they had to transfer occasionally or all of the time. So definitely we're seeing that has changed. And I will tell you from reading the comments that people aren't happy about it.
No.
So I've read through a lot of the comments. And I'll tell you, some people are thrilled to have a one-seat ride to Grand Central. And a lot of people are just as unhappy to have to change trains, or with the changes that they're seeing, having to go to Atlantic Terminal, the regular riders there.
Well, you'll see these numbers skew a lot differently once the winter time comes.
And people are gonna start changing their train patterns because they don't want to change.
Well, I think
lot.
that it will be interesting, very interesting, I think, when the summer schedules, which are going to go into effect at the end of May, we'll see a lot of riders who have no idea that this is happening. And also the fact that there are some of the changes that have been, or will be implemented, are gonna add some times to people's trains. And in fact, Ryan, who is our intern, has been working on this, had said he's gonna add an additional 10 minutes on top of the 15 minutes. He's from Valley Stream, to his schedule already. So, I imagine that we will be hearing more. And we're gonna keep monitoring, we'll push this out again, and also ask people who responded previously to come back
Yeah.
and tell us, what they've seen with some of the
Second,
changes that the
third
railroad has done.
Yeah.
Right.
So since February, are we still making changes to the schedules to kind of make things a bit more cohesive, or are we?
So the railroad has made quite a few changes.
Okay.
They've increased the number. Annabelle, do you wanna talk about what the railroad?
Yeah, definitely. So we've made, I would say about 3 to 4 major changes since the new schedule was implemented on February 27th. Some of the major changes that we've made were adding train sets to different branches, particularly for the Brooklyn service. We added some cars there. We also we added platform controllers, like I mentioned during the last meeting, to make sure that while people were transferring up and over, that a train would always be there when people arrived to that platform F. We also moved some train cars from the Grand Central Madison fleet over to the Penn Station fleets to alleviate the overcrowding based on the ridership data that we collected. So we noticed those first 2 weeks that about 70% of riders going to Manhattan were going into Penn Station, and about 30 were going into Grand Central Madison. So we adjusted the train cars to kind of reflect that percentage a little bit better, as well as a number of other changes, changing times to certain trains to reflect the timing that better suited most of the commuters. So that's kind of a brief summary of some of the things that we have done. We're still monitoring the data. We have heard fewer complaints, which doesn't mean that there aren't any complaints. It's probably more of an indication that people are getting more accustomed to their commute. But even the complaints that we have heard are pretty reflective of the survey. When we do receive complaints, the majority of complaints are similar, or if not the same, to the complaints or the negative feedback that we've seen here, as well as the positive feedback. So I think this is a really good reflection. We're also receiving surveys from other sources as well. We have elected officials that have done their own surveys. We've done surveys. So we're collecting all of that data for any future service changes that we make. I wouldn't say anything as large scale as the change that we made on February 27th, but any adjustments that we do make will certainly take into account all of the surveys and data ridership that we've been collecting.
Well, do you know when the big survey, when we launched this survey, we were attempting to link to a similar survey that the railroad was doing.
Yep,
But,
that is that.
aren't ready yet.
Yes, that is actually still ongoing. I asked prior to this meeting to see where we are there, but we are still collecting more information for that survey. So hopefully I'll have an answer for you soon, but not just yet.
So it's ongoing in terms of being developed, or you want us to help, or would you like us to help you put it out there?
The survey it's been out there to my knowledge. It's about organizing the data now. So I think they're still collecting some more data to reflect how the complaints that we're hearing now, since there are fewer complaints. But I just think we're not just ready to release the survey that we've been doing.
Okay, because we had when we tried to put it out, Nick had said it wasn't ready to go out yet, and I haven't seen it.
Wasn't that the survey that was covering the same time as ours? That
I know part of the survey is that we're collecting the ridership data.
Okay.
So that's been ongoing. But I will follow up on where we are. Yeah, like I said, when I asked earlier today, I was told it's just not ready at this time.
I think it would be better together. We put something out to try and get updated information.
Of course. Okay, I will definitely mention that. Like you mentioned, we're putting out our summer schedule soon, so they could also just be waiting.
Ask a question for clarity.
Mhm.
So you already have a survey that's out and you're just waiting to compile the data to release it, just like we're doing right now, or you're compiling information to develop your survey? That's,
My understanding is that we're compiling information to provide the survey to.
you haven't put a survey out to the public
No,
yet?
no.
I haven't seen it. Okay, I just wanted to be,
What was the one that was when ours was out?
That was this one, but it wasn't, but.
The previous
We
iteration.
unlinked it because it wasn't ready.
right. No, they
No.
have, every year they have a customer satisfaction survey.
Yeah, I get the customer. They
That's
say
what I'm
if you
saying,
enter in,
which
if you
is-
get- if you-
But this is separate from that survey. This
Yeah,
But that's the third one.
Right.
That one was going on the same time. ours
right,
was
right,
going on.
right,
Right.
but that's
This
separate.
isn't a separate one.
This
from
is
the
another
customer
one.
Satisfaction.
Yeah,
survey.
another one from down the line.
This is
Okay, so it's
again,
still being developed.
right, and
Got
this
it.
is to gauge riders' concerns regarding,
The specific,
Specific.
specific schedule.
right. Okay, so we'll continue to keep an eye on this and again, ask people to come back and tell us what their thoughts are. As the new summer schedule comes out, because I think that with the.
Do you have the database of all their email addresses?
Oh, yeah. Some people have included that. I've reached out to some people specifically. And some people have not included it. And some people are happy to be contacted and some people just like this all to go back the way it was and pretend it was bad thing.
So, Annabelle, just to be fair to the railroad and, please let Hector and whoever, know. Since you're just, right now, since you're just in the developmental stage of putting the survey together and you haven't put the survey out to the public yet. I don't see us waiting until you have all that together. I think we're gonna have to release first. I mean, we'll probably be probably till the end of this month, keep collecting data. And then we'll probably put something out there. We will give you the heads up. We'll give you a day or two's notice with the survey so that this way, you're aware of it before it comes out and you can respond appropriately. And then maybe if you haven't put your survey out on the street yet, by that time, you might see some things there that you might want to add and delete from your survey pending.
No, definitely understood and appreciate the heads up. I will relay the message. We definitely understand with the timing and especially with the survey having, I'm not sure how long this survey has been out, but we understand that you guys need to put out your survey. So
Yeah,
no worries there.
You got the heads up, because you have this information, that we've discussed that you can start looking at now.
Yes.
And again, this is a public forum, so this is information that's out there. So feel free to share that with whoever in the organization.
I'll send you the document.
Perfect. Thank you, Lisa.
Right?
The other thing we just have to keep in mind also is that when this schedule changes, all these dynamics and everything is going to suddenly change.
People's feedback's gonna change.
Yeah.
Right.
So, the feedback and the numbers that we already have could be basically null and void.
Right. They're gonna have a different opinion now versus
Yeah.
when it's published.
Once we know, once we see what this new schedule is, because people, trains are going to be eliminated for summer,
Well, summer schedule's out.
Yeah.
It's out already.
but
So it's not in effect.
it's not in effect. Well,
They can feel it.
I don't know.
nobody's gonna know until it actually hits.
It's right.
Well, it's out.
Until
it's-
they commute on that schedule, they're not gonna have feedback.
With all of the weekend riders.
Yeah.
Who have no idea what's going on because it's their first time doing this. And the
So
weekend warriors will just be lost and
Just
milling about.
putting it out there, I think our cutoff date for this survey should be the cutoff date of the existing schedule. And then we can start, and we can still keep collecting data, but like you said, it's gonna be a whole new
Yeah, but
dynamic.
that goes
with-
into effect what, within 2 weeks?
I think it's the 22nd.
Yeah, so we'll
So
conclude this
no-
survey on whatever the last day is,
Okay.
and then we'll still continue to collect data.
But it'll
But
be
we'll
based on.
collect that separately because it'll be based on the new schedule.
But we can,
And we can go back to the original people who've replied and say, listen, now with the
Resubmit.
new schedule, do you have different ideas? Do you have different opinions? Please let us know.
we can like stop and start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, so here's our baseline,
Don't lose that data.
right?
Right, don't lose
Yeah.
that data, but
Because this data will probably be somewhat valid after the summer's over.
I mean, this is a. you
The
know,
new, the summer schedule goes into effect, next Monday, which is the 22nd.
and
And that has more of an impact on the weekend, right? Versus the weekday, right?
That's correct. Well, yes, yes, I would say so.
Put it up on Friday, this Friday, and then start a new one start it,
yeah.
yeah.
One thing I will mention, just for the people here. I did speak to Rob Free at the last board meeting, and he said that he would speak to the Movement Bureau about being more cognizant of connections coming in, particularly in the evening hours, so that we don't have people like going to Oyster Bay, where if you miss your connection by 2 minutes, you have to wait a whole hour for your next train out. He wasn't ready to make that an official, that they're not holding every train, but they will use more judgment in perhaps holding trains where they wouldn't in the past. So that's a plus, like I say, you've got to celebrate our small victories. Alrighty, so any other questions regarding the survey that we have from anybody? Okay, Lisa, do you have anything else?
Chris, I just
I do. This is Chris. I have my hand up.
Go.
Question about the survey. I'm very glad to see the survey, and I'm actually trying to do one right now on my other laptop. The concern that a lot of people have been, I don't know, nobody, let me say this in the right way. Are we going to do any outreaching on these surveys in other stations? And I agree with Jerry saying earlier about the desert areas, like the diesel turf, because they do transfer too from a diesel to electric to maybe possibly to another electric train in anywhere in those destinations. Are we going to be doing some of that? Or you guys have been doing that?
All outreach has all been social media or online. I mean, we haven't done any and
the Newsday and
Yeah.
12 and.
using, But I mean, nobody's been like out at the platforms handing anything out or something like that. Everything's all online.
So that's.
Okay.
that-
No, I'm not upset. I'm just because I'm very impressed with seeing this. And I do want to compliment Lisa on the accessibility that it's in there. So I want to be clear for the record. In case somebody says you didn't put it in there, yes, you did.
Are you kidding? Do you think we would not do that?
Even my mother seconded her motion. She seconds my motion.
I just gave you the thumbs up, you see? No, Lisa, you did. You addressed it very well and I appreciate it. Because
I give
I-
the social media update.
Yes.
Sorry
Well,
to-
I want to give you a compliment, Lisa,
Thank you.
and Long Island Railroad as well, and the other railroad, even my regular subways. You guys, you advertise more, even Amtrak, about like a person with disabilities, where we should go, what to do. Where I go to the Port Authority meetings, is they don't even know what I'm talking about. But Mr. Cotton, the one who did the book, he admits his daughter is in the autistic spectrum. I didn't ask, he put it on public record. And he was thanking this gentleman who's retiring for fixing that room. And I'm looking like, gee, how come you don't advertise that? Where I know what to do with for people with disabilities on Long Island Railroad and the Metro North, as well as the buses and subways. So thank you for all that work. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right,
We
thank you.
can't fix the Port Authority.
Yeah,
Not fixing them. I'm putting them to shame for what they're not doing.
So the social media, as I said,
Yeah.
Laura wasn't able to join us because she's finishing school. She'll be graduating next week. Said much of our communication about the new Long Island Railroad service pattern come through our survey. and the preliminary survey results were presented separately. Following the release of the summer schedules, there has been some discussion on Twitter focusing around the fact that the updated schedules do not address many of the larger concerns raised with the new service plan. Midday off-peak Brooklyn service is being further reduced. There was a lot, and I'll let you respond to any of this, but I'm almost done. There was a lot of discussion on social media about the Long Island Railroad derailment in Long Island City last week, right downstairs and a half a block away from where I live, but I wasn't there. We received a complaint about leaking from the roof of the Freeport station, which we forwarded to Hector, who provided us with information about ongoing work to replace the canopy roof of the station. And positive Twitter conversations about new Long Island Railroad train platform / time status screens in the upper level of Grand Central Terminal. This will help people more easily navigate and transfer within the station.
Okay. Any questions for Lisa?
If I could
I'm-
just, I'll respond really quickly.
Thank you. Excellent, thank you.
Okay. All right, guess we move down to
Annabelle
Annabelle.
wanted to-
Annabelle.
Oh, go ahead, Annabelle, I'm sorry.
Yes, no worries. I just wanted to respond to one thing from the social media report regarding the derailment. I believe it was a Amtrak train that was derailed near Long Island City, and it did cause service issues with the Long Island Railroad, and there was limited service to Hunters Point Avenue, and I think there wasn't any Long Island City service until they were able to rectify the issue. So just wanted to give that bit of information.
So I do have a question, because it's that where that crossover is just, it's just dismal. I mean, it's an open road cross that I'm surprised nobody's been hit over. Who's responsible for the maintenance of that? The pavement there. I mean, it's right.
The pavement?
Yeah, there's a major truck crossing right there. It's the entrance to the Long Island Expressway.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a homeless vet shelter that a lot of people walk, but there's not really any signage that says you should be careful. Oh, by the way, there's a life third rail here.
Mhm.
And, the pavement itself is in really terrible condition. And I know what can happen when you do good pavement work, because I've seen it patch up too.
Yeah.
So I would just say that needs some love. That's a
Right.
but-
I'd have to check to see who's the owner of. Could you just give me the location one more time so I
It's
can?
at Gordon Avenue, right at the corner of, it's right under the Pulaski at the entrance to the LIE. Right where
Okay.
It was ironic that it was a train rail track trekker
Yeah.
that derailed. So it's kind of ironic. I guess it found
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
Thankfully, there were no passengers. It was a non-passenger train, but yes.
you know, I
Okay.
was kind of curious that it was even there, because it was an Amtrak car, but that's not Amtrak territory, that's strictly our territory. I don't know what, unless they were doing us a favor checking that. It just seemed odd that the Amtrak derailment in Long Island City, it says, no, they go into the tunnel, they go to Penn. So I couldn't understand what had happened or why that was even there, but.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'll be honest. Could have been many different things, and I'll ask to see if anyone knows why that train was in that location at the time. We'll see.
And I've seen the Sperry cars going. with the
Yeah,
trucks,
yeah,
you know,
the
they're
Sperry
doing,
cars were ours, so.
yeah, those, all
Yeah.
those, yeah, oh, it's the subcontract of ours. I think.
Yeah,
I mean, I see sometimes, like during the summer, Hellmark cars were parked there when they were being leased in.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of construction work happening there too, which means that there's heavy load trucks that are going
Bouncing and,
over there. And there's two new construction, including one of those iFly places. The really heavy pounding, that's probably further damaged some of the supports and some of the tie downs, the ties and tie downs.
what, it may have nothing to do with it or not, I don't know. the very crossing that Lisa was talking about,
In Patchogue.
no,
Oh,
the
the
crossing
one-
in
oh,
Gordon
in Gordon
Avenue, because she said, well, why nothing ever
Yeah,
went bad there. Supposedly there was a live person who was in charge of crossing. But apparently, I guess he was only there because of previous contracts or whatever. I guess he was like an anachronism. So he just retired, I think, within the last month.
super.
So they no longer have the live person there who I guess would watch when the train would come across. And
Yeah,
it was like a school, it almost sounded
Yeah.
like he was a school crossing guard, only he wasn't crossing children, he was crossing the trains.
I don't think there are gates there.
No, that's the whole thing. I
Yeah,
don't think there are gates. That's
yeah.
why they had the live
Yeah,
person
yeah.
there, but
I definitely hear the ding, ding, ding of the train, but I'll have to look,
That's
because I
why
can
it
see it
goes
out
like-
my window.
and that's why it goes like 4 miles an hour going through
Right.
there, because it
Well, it's
gets.
also really bad geometry.
On the news
Yeah.
reports, I don't remember there being gates.
Yeah, and I'm sure they would have just been taken out.
Well, yeah.
I never seen a crossing guard. I never seen those crossing gates going down. I never seen them. I not even seen one on Metropolitan Avenue as well, when they have the trains going through.
Yeah,
They don't, and those need to be checked. It's not safe. I agree. I just don't want to see anyone getting hurt.
There's a lot of development happening on Gordon, up there, so more and more people will be driving that way as well.
alrighty, so I guess we turn this over now to Annabelle. Annabelle, do you want to just give us an update on what's going on with the?
Yes. Definitely. Yes. Okay. So I just have a few updates. I'll start with the budget. As most of you may know, the budget was passed 2 weeks ago. So yes, very happy about that finally. I'll give some highlights from the budget just for the record. So from the budget, we were able to get the increase of the payroll mobility tax for the largest businesses in New York City to 0.6%, which will generate approximately $1.1 billion for the MTA. We're also getting a 300 million aid and one-time aid from the state, as well as we are requiring New York City to contribute $165 million for paratransit services. So those are just a couple of highlights. There are many other things, but I'll just keep it to that. I'll move on to scheduling. We kind of went over some of the scheduling issues and updates there. Like I said, we are receiving less complaints, which is more of an indication that people are getting accustomed to their schedules, which is great. But we are still getting complaints here. They're mostly on social media. I will note that we have a track maintenance project happening on the Far Rockaway branch. We're actually in the final weekend of that work. So this weekend coming up is the final weekend where we will not have trains running between Far Rockaway and Valley Stream. Buses will be running between Far Rockaway and Valley Streams, and trains will be running between Penn Station and Valley Streams on an adjusted schedule. So that is from 10:30 p.m. on Friday to 3 a.m. on Monday. Again, last weekend. So we're happy about that. And then I'll move on to our ADA project for package 1, which includes Amityville, Copiague, Massapequa Park, Lindenhurst, Valley Stream, St. Albans, Laurelton, Locust Manor, and Auburndale. Try to say that fast. So we're really getting a head start on Amityville, Copiague, Massapequa Park, and Lindenhurst. We're starting with those 4. And then throughout the next few months, we'll be mobilizing at the rest of the stations. We have laid down completed at Amityville, and layout is ongoing at Copiague and Lindenhurst. There's some some soil boring happening at Locust Manor and Laurelton. I believe they should be completed by now. If not, they'll be completed within this week. And that's where we are on that. And then for the M9, M9s, as was mentioned before, that is still in procurement. So that is status on that. So that's it for my updates. I'll take any questions.
Okay, one thing, on the budget update.
Mhm.
One of the results, and I'll confirm it with the board, is that the upcoming fare increase that they'll be going out for will now be 4% instead of 5.5% due to the budget considerations.
That is correct. The state is providing $65 million to reduce the original proposed fare increase. So yes, that is correct.
Chris,
My understanding is that the fair policy working group for that the Andrews on at the board level is looking at a variety of discounts and caps, so that they'll probably retain the $500 cap for the railroads. And put in other discounts. So that being said, we don't know specifically what's going to be proposed in terms of fare increases. So it's premature to have this specific conversation right now about supporting or saying no. Because I know that that's what a lot of people are very concerned about. What does this mean? And there just isn't any numbers attached to it.
no, we need to know the actual,
Yeah.
numbers before we can take any position.
And I'm saying that because the other councils have been starting to have those conversations, so we're telling them there's no there yet, so when there is, it's probably a conversation for PCAC. I mean, that's probably.
Well,
the
our
time.
PCAC, it's only 2 weeks away, right?
It's in
It's only a
June,
couple of weeks away.
which I know is a daytime meeting, and that's a difficult time for everyone to participate in, but we will have an opportunity for maybe a conversation that we can have with people who couldn't make it during the day to fill in the blanks on what it means and and next steps.
Okay. Chris, you got your hand raised?
Yes, I did, and I actually agree with Lisa on that piece also. But Anna, the one question I'm very pleased to see is the list of those elevators, because now we're finally on the Babylon branch, we'll finally get accessibility. Now we don't have to hear everyone complaining. And at the same time, when you guys have your events now, I can finally get there going down an elevator or a ramp as well, or something to have a little fun.
Yes.
as well.
Hopefully you can use one of the elevators when we have a press conference to celebrate the completion of the project. So we will
Yes.
keep you posted on that.
What you always do. And one day I just wanted to give you some good news, Anna, as well as everyone. A lot of my friends who uses the Long Island Railroad to Brooklyn, and I'm going to say my true friends, and I'm allowed to use his name. His name is Rodney Hankins, he loves his favorite train. It's called the West Hempstead train. You made his day, you made his year, because now when he has to go practice for bowling, he takes that train straight to Atlantic, straight to Melbourne. And let me tell you, it's such a breath of fresh air, because he does not want to take the Nassau bus to Far Rockaway, because as you know, the A train is a mysterious train. But now with the option now we also heard that Long Island Railroad is going to soon be doing the city ticket or the future Freedom ticket, which Lisa, you can quote me or correct me. I will say, finally, I can get an option to get somewhere out of the Rockaways and get somewhere to Jamaica, or somewhere to get into the city a little quicker and cheap, a little decent price. So that I'm very pleased to see. And I hope, Annabelle, that cheered you up today.
It certainly did. I'm happy to hear all this good news. I will note really quickly, since you mentioned the Far Rockaway city ticket. So it's essentially a city ticket, but it is a separate ticket from the official city ticket. So I did want to note that, because I know there was a bit of confusion there, but works essentially very similarly to the city ticket that we have in place already.
Ron has a question about, will Northport ever get elevators, also Deer Park? I thought Deer Park had a ramp.
Deer Park has a ramp.
Deer Park has a ramp.
Yeah.
Hey, the other day, my wife and I went into the city, and it took about 20 minutes for us to walk around, because neither of us are currently capable of climbing over. Ramps are important, of course, But to get over to the other side, because your train came in from Manhattan, the opposite side of where you parked. It's a very long, hard walk to get around.
Understood. I mean, our overall objective is to make the entire system ADA accessible as quickly as possible. So I mentioned this is the first package of a 2-package ADA project that we have. These 2 stations are not a part of package 2, but that does not mean that they cannot be a part of future packages. So as we move forward, I will definitely keep everyone updated on where those 2 stations are in terms of the ADA project. So you said it was East Northport and Deer Park?
Yes, East Northport's where I live, but
Mhm.
Deer Park, if you want to get a direct train into the city on a weekend,
Mhm.
it makes much more sense for us.
Got it. Okay.
Thanks.
Annabelle, this is Larry. I just got a quick question for
Yes.
you. What's going on now with Wantor? Because Wantor's had tons and tons of delays because of congestion. What do we have any solution for that? Because all the trains have been late, they've been going through there because so many more trains are now stopping at Wantor since it's a transfer point, and it's been choking up everything else right now. Any plan for that?
A quick question on that. Is it during the weekday that typically we see those trains late and overcrowded? Is that are
Yes.
those the 2 main? Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I'll be honest. I haven't heard any plans about adding any trains. I mean, like I mentioned during our last meeting, we're a bit limited in terms of adding trains to different stations or different branches. We just don't have the capacity to do that right now. We can change certain times for certain trains where possible. So if something makes more sense, we can look into the current service plan and make some adjustments. So I'll check in with our service planning team to see what the ridership data looks like there and which trains are late during the week. And maybe they can make some adjustments that might help with that situation.
Quick question. In East Northport, is there an overpass?
Is there an overpass? That's a great question. Actually, I will look right now.
Yeah, there is a wreck of an old overpass that is super high.
That's what?
It's
Super
very
high.
high.
Super high. All right.
Now, if
So
you were
in other
doing
words, it's
triple-decker
stairs and
cars.
Okay.
I
But
see.
it's very difficult if you have any accessibility issues.
Mhm.
And
The reason
Deer
I
Park,
asked the question is, it was brought up at the last board meeting, unless it was presented incorrectly, that they're replacing the platforms at East Northport, at the Northport station.
that's correct.
Okay, well, supposedly if you're doing more than a certain percentage of repair of a station, you have to bring it up to ADA compliance. And I only know that because I've been beating a drum about Hunters Point Avenue, which is a complete disaster.
Yes.
They said that one of the reasons that they couldn't
And Miss Wills Point.
fix the platforms at Hunters Point was because to do it right, it would be over a certain percentage of the total station, and they would have to put they'd have to make it handicap accessible as part of the deal. But now they're basically replacing all the platforms, from my understanding, at Northport.
Well, it's only one side because
Right.
the eastbound side, there's no track and there's only a very short
That
platform just at the end of the steps.
single track in that location?
But is there? I don't remember. There is a second track anymore. I know Green Lawn there is, Smithtown there is. There
It
might
looks like
be.
it's one. It looks like it's single track.
There's
From
room for a second track.
No, I mean, what they're using is single track territory.
Yes. And yeah, they are replacing, they're taking the old, basically gradually collapsing sections of platform and throwing new ones in. So they may not consider that be enough to justify, I don't know. But the bridge has long been awful. It's worse in winter. no
Yeah.
covering, no platform canopies, anything.
Well, I'll ask the question this month at the appropriate committee. I don't know whether it be the joint railroad committees or whether it be construction and development.
Hey, thanks.
All right.
I'll speak with our chief accessibility officer as well about this station. I will note that ADA accessibility does not always mean elevators. So really whatever works best for this particular station in terms of ADA accessibility is what we will go with, of course, with input from the appropriate stakeholders. But
Oh, I understand that completely.
Yeah,
East
but putting a
Northport,
new
even though it's where I
platform-
live,
You're putting it on
isn't quite,
platform, it should at least be a new ramp. Oh,
with East Northport, it's not super hard to get around, but there's only ramps on the main side. And of course,
got
at Deer Park, there are ramps, but it is so far to walk to the nearest, crossing and then come around back. You can miss a couple of trains in the process,
okay.
and it's just painful.
Oh, definitely understood. Yes, I'll
Thanks.
speak to her. Yeah, of course. I'll circle back with our chief accessibility officer and see what his take is.
yeah, one other thing, you could just check again, like I said, it might have been just a miscommunication. But when they did when they mentioned the Northport station and the platform replacement, they said they were putting in a new 12-car platform. Which, if it was electrified, would make perfect sense. That's our longest consist is 12 cars. But if that's diesel country, the biggest thing you have is an 8-car double decker. So
Well, the platform is much longer than the longest train I've ever seen there. It is a super long platform, some of which is, I don't think, ever been used.
Exciting.
So maybe what they're doing is they're just replacing the platform in kind if they have, if
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Already that long.
it's already that long, I guess.
Mhm. I mean, I will say when we are doing any sort of work at a station, especially it's some sort of platform replacement, we would prefer to just make the platform 12 cars long because we don't know when we're going to go back to that station again. So we might miss the opportunity to make that station 12 cars for decades or we're not sure, so we'll try. So that's probably the logic there if that's what's happening at Northport.
It could be. I mean, it's a lot longer than 8, and I've never seen it go past about 2/3 of the way.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, I know.
Future planning.
yeah,
Yeah, my grandchildren.
all right.
was gonna say.
Deborah, you have your hand raised?
Yes, in reference to when we make those stations, what Ron's saying is accessible. I use the walker and everyone says, oh, you walk great. But I do get fatigued and tired if I have to, because everyone I complain also at the subways. You have the elevator in one end, but you're putting me in the boarding in the middle. So I have to let 2 or 3 trains go by. And a lot of your ramps that are in existence now are really not compliant because you can't have it look like the way I'm doing my hand. It has to go hip up.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
it would be nice if you could, all right, if you can't get the elevator in, then make more than one ramp or make a ramp that can attach to the overpass so it's in a slope. The ramp similar to that is actually at 42nd Street at the Port Authority station for the A, C, and E. It's in the middle of the platform. It's a very easy ramp to use. I mean, there are times people go up and down and it makes life a lot easier. Because
Okay.
you also have rails to hold on. And please
Yeah.
don't you see what gets people with disabilities very frustrated is certain bills, they say, oh, we made it accessible, but you only did it to the minute amount to the law. Really, you have to realize that people with disabilities, accessibilities, we want full accessibilities so we don't have, so that we can participate in society. So please keep that in mind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Deborah.
Well,
All right, any other questions before we let Annabelle go?
This is Stuart. Could I be recognized?
Yes, okay, Stuart.
Sure. And this is a new topic or tangential to scheduling, and it'll seem provincial, but I think it has a wider application. About 7 months ago, I asked Hector if several questions, but one was if there's a reason that the Montauk branch trains simply by following the schedule travel so slowly. I think the question can be reduced to asking why the train travels only 36 miles an hour between Spionk and West Hampton. We haven't gotten an answer from that yet. I think that has a broader applicability, and it asks if the railroad is not putting in too much buffer time in the schedule in order to improve its on-time performance, but disserving passengers by taking so much longer to travel from one end to the other. I hope I said that in a way that was understandable.
It was definitely. I will check in with Hector tomorrow morning and see if he has an answer to that question.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hey, anything else? Going once, going twice? You good, Lisa? Nothing in the chat?
Nothing in the chat.
Alrighty. All right, Annabelle, we thank you so much for joining us today. Great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye now.
You too now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, is there any old business that anybody would like to bring up? No old business? Any new business anybody would like to bring up?
I do. This is Chris.
All right, Chris?
And this is, and Larry, this is something you want to get ready for. As we're getting ready in the next, I know, I'll get you later. As you know, we're getting ready to celebrate the 8833. Carmel Q, Accessory Chief, as well as ACTA, is getting ready to do some events coming up in the month of July. I don't have those information, but we do want to make sure that Long Island Railroad, and I already mentioned this to Hector and Anna and Nick already, so they already know. But we do want to make sure that all three railroads and the subway are ready for the 8833, because this is something we need to not just celebrate as we got the lawsuit done, but things that we've been accomplishing since 2019 or 2018. Thank you.
All righty.
There were two things I wanted to raise.
Okay, go
One
ahead.
is, in addition to the state budget, which is really terrific news for the MTA and should be stable funding without having to go looking through the couch cushions for the next 4 years at least, maybe beyond. You may have seen that the draft finding of no significant impact and the environmental assessment letter were signed off on allowing congestion pricing to move forward. So there's a 30-day public review period if anybody would like to look through the 10,000-page document. There are a number of different concessions that are, mitigation efforts that are going to be put into place that the MTA is committed to spending, to funding for $155 million. So it's about a year away, the implementation, but that is barring whatever lawsuits would be coming from New Jersey. So that is one piece of information. The other is that tomorrow we expect the release of the Payment Evasion Task Force from the Blue Ribbon Panel that I sit on as well. I found out today that it should in fact be released tomorrow. Part of that will include some recommendations regarding the railroads. And I was asked specifically to look at the recommendations, and I've had conversations with Jerry and some of our friends in labor on them as well. And hopefully have been able to make some inroads and input into making them palatable. But one of the things that was very interesting was that there was not a whole lot of way to know how much fare evasion there really was on the railroad, because there was, if you gave an IOU and that wasn't considered fare evasion, So, and the summonses that are written on the railroads
Yeah,
go to the individual towns and villages. They don't go to a central MTA place. So there was no way to ever find out if any were ever paid for, and they didn't go to the MTA.
So who collects it?
Of the individual towns and villages, the.
Of
MTA
what? Where it was
police-
issued?
Yeah,
So they get the fare also?
they, they get this $25, $50, $75 summons.
Yeah, but if somebody's written a ticket, get a ticket on the train, it's for the ticket and it's for the fare, not,
They get whatever the price is.
The MTA gets what the price is, that,
no.
No, they get nothing. Nothing.
Well, there's the incentive for that from the right ticket.
So, but no, but the,
so, but,
So-
so the town or the local ordinance of where it was written, I mean, the train's
Yes.
moving.
no, they didn't really, so what I saw.
We're in Nassau now, let me give it to Nassau, we reached up.
Not even Nassau, it's like the
Individual town.
village of Hempstead, or the town of Hempstead, or the village of.
So if you're in
Their destination or their origin,
No, wherever the ticket is, if they give you a ticket in Wantagh, apparently
Yeah,
the incorporated village of
I
Wantagh
mean,
gets the money.
the cops have 10 different kinds of summonses in their books. So that was really eye-opening, and I think that we'll look at some changes in process.
that's something,
Well,
yeah, no, that's
that's
something
just
we
what's
really
written
need
there.
to. That's really something we really need to look at.
at least get the fare. At
Yeah.
the very least.
Yeah.
Or find out what happens to it. What's the
Who's-
disposition?
Somebody's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So that report is gonna come out tomorrow. I think that we will see it's based on 4 premises. Equity enforcement, education and environment, and the environment is also includes new fare arrays, it's turnstiles and exit gates and stuff like that. So they'll be on display and they'll be in.
Well, I was like gating at the UBS, right?
There was an experiment that they did because it wasn't being done, and there were a lot of concerns that were issued by onboard personnel, like,
Yeah,
what do you want us to do? We're just letting entire train loads of people go by for free. So they do it at Yankee, they do it at City, and
no, they're doing it at UBS.
they're doing it at UPS. So,
Deborah, do you have your hand up? Okay, go.
and Rhonda-
Okay, one, that 10,000 page report. I would try, but I don't think I can. But do you have any highlights that you could like send to us so we can help advocate with you and so that we know what we're saying in case we're trying, like when the press grabs us, I don't want to say the wrong thing about what do I think about the budget or why they got, or like if they're, but also with congesting pricing, which I can understand.
Yep. Will do.
Because I appreciate that. In reference with that collection piece, I apologize, I'm asking this now, but I can't be at the other meeting for Metro North. I'm stuck somewhere else. Is this true also for Metro North?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can we do to stop this? Because if it's if you're evading the railroad should be getting the fine. Because this is New York City, let's say New York City. So if I'm in New York City and I evade the fare on the Long Island Railroad, who gets the fare? Who gets my fine?
So these are a lot of questions that don't have a lot of answers.
Okay,
But there'll be more information in the report,
report.
but what's really gonna happen? That's the most important, is the outcome will be changed. And so I think that, the first thing is, the first and most important step is outlining what the problems are. And then determining the next steps, because there are a lot of problems, so they have to find a lot of.
Well, I think once these problems are exposed, the MTA owes a response.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
they're part of they're a part of uncovering the problems too. So, yeah, definitely.
It's in their best interest to
Oh, yeah.
adjust policies or whatever to
There's-
pick
Yeah,
up the finances that are involved in it.
there's $600 million a year lost throughout the system. That includes.
Whoa.
To fare evasion. to pay
now I
rate.
want to really know that because I
Well,
would
before that's not
throw it
necessarily
in the face of
fair.
certain elected officials.
Good.
Thank you, Lisa, appreciate, thank you, and thank you.
Ron, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I had mentioned that my wife and I had gone into the city on a recent weekend. That was Deer Park into Grand Central. And obviously, we had to spend a fair amount of time at Grand Central. And it is beyond confusing. Now, I know more things keep opening up, and that, is going to help in a lot of ways. But the signage drove us crazy trying to figure out where elevators were. We had to find someone, hey, can you tell us where the elevator is that takes us? Because the signage I thought was beyond awful.
I think I agree. I saw your letter to Cranes, which was very well done. Congratulations on that. I think that the Grand Central is a work in progress, and we just need to continue to remind them that it's not done yet.
And since there have been some great updates to signage.
Yeah,
Yeah. so-
definitely. Like
The last 2 weeks,
the subway, the sign to the Long Island Railroad doesn't point to the shuttle track anymore.
Yeah.
that's a good one.
And Ron, the interesting thing is, once you've used Grand Central 2 or 3 times, you pretty much know your way around inside. But on the other side of the coin, people don't know, and I'm one of them, all the ins and outs on the street, where they're located and things of that nature. So that's,
Signage
you know,
up on the
That's
up on the
street
street level, on street level. Because a lot of buildings, I can't even cite what one, but there's one, somebody said, oh, you can get into the railroad this way. I'm like, really? And we go into this lobby, and all of a sudden there's an escalator
If
downstairs.
you're down there and come up, you have to remember
Where you came up.
when you get out on the street.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta remember this location because there's no signage. It's
And
gonna
then the
tell me
problem
how
is-
to get back.
And some of those buildings, actually, they'll close at 9 o'clock and you can't get in that way, so.
Yeah, well, now they've got the entrance at 43rd Street, built more, so.
Yeah.
That just opened.
Confusing.
You have
Yeah,
to-
it just happened this
You have to
last
leave
week.
breadcrumbs on the way out. So you-
Yeah.
Well,
Spice
we're
twins.
asking them.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, they'll be there. They'll still be there.
Also, excuse me, guys, this is Chris, just to add one thing, Q has been putting not permanent signs, but substituting accessibility signages. We need to also not forget, those signages are not permanent, but we have substitute signages that are also starting from where that elevator is on the low level up to the upper one, and then getting to the direction. The only thing I did mention to Q, I said, nice to see some of the signs, but as I said before, that you need to make the names of where you're heading to those locations. And he agreed when I was saying, and they're supposed to be working on more signages in the future. And Lisa, if you have any ideas, he did say to please, as well as Jerry, please let him know.
Happy to go on a walking tour, riding tour, cruising around tour with him.
Just make sure you're not wearing high heels, please, as Andrew said that to you. Wear some sneakers because you need it for stretching.
Yeah.
Alrighty,
Okay.
last call for any questions. That being said, I greatly appreciate the fact that we can adjourn before 6 o'clock, because if I miss my train, the next one I have to make 2 transfers to get to Ronkonkoma, believe it or not.
Motion to adjourn then.
Okay,
Seconded because of Jerry.
right,
I greatly appreciate it.
thank you.
We are adjourned at 5:50. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Um,